There's a $4 sleep system that has kept human beings alive through the most brutal cold on Earth. It requires no sleeping bag rated for sub-zero temperatures, no synthetic insulation, no downfill, no moisture-wicking shell, no proprietary loft technology. Just two materials that every hardware store and dollar store carries on the same shelf right now. It weighs almost nothing. It packs into your fist. It keeps your core temperature stable through a night at 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Ernest Shackleton's men used this exact principle to survive the Antarctic winter when their ship was crushed by ice and they had nothing left. Korean War soldiers improvised this on frozen hillsides in 1950 and called it the difference between waking up and not waking up. Inuit hunters perfected this system over 4,000 years of living where survival had no margin for error. And right now, the global sleeping bag and outdoor bedding industry generates over $3.8 billion every single year, selling you a solution to a problem your ancestors already solved for pennies. They did not bury this because it failed in the field. They buried it because it worked in every field, in every climate, on every continent, for every civilization that ever faced the cold. A $4 sleep system that lasts decades cannot be sold back to you for $400 with a proprietary fill rating. And what cannot be sold cannot be allowed to survive in common knowledge. This is the lost story of the dead air sleep system, the oldest thermal technology on Earth, and the two industries that spent half a century making sure you would never learn to build it. Welcome to Lost Skills. This is where the vaults open. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe today and hit the bell. In the winter of 1914, Ernest Shackleton's ship Endurance became trapped in Antarctic pack ice. 28 men stranded with temperatures dropping to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. No rescue was coming. What kept those men alive was not laboratory-invented sleeping bag technology. It was a principle every Arctic culture had understood for millennia. Layer dead air between your body and the cold. Still air is the single most powerful insulator that exists on Earth. Not goose down, not synthetic Primaloft, not Thinsulate rated to minus 40. Still air. Goose down works because it traps still air in millions of tiny pockets. The fill is not the insulator. The trapped air inside the fill is the insulator. Your body is the heat source. Dead air is the medium. The fill material is simply the scaffold. Once you understand that, you understand why a $4 system built from hardware store materials can match a $400 sleeping bag in real field conditions, because both are doing the same thing. The only difference is that one costs $400. The other costs $4 and comes with 4,000 years of proof. The Inuit developed what researchers now call the vapor barrier sleep system, not in a laboratory. In the field, over hundreds of generations of survival selection with no margin for error, what they discovered was this. The human body loses heat through three pathways during cold sleep: radiation outward, conduction through ground contact, and evaporation, where body moisture wicks through insulation layers, collapses loft, and destroys the dead air pockets doing the actual insulating work. Modern sleeping bags address radiation and conduction reasonably well. They almost completely ignore evaporation. That is exactly the problem that costs you warmth at 3 in the morning when your 20-degree bag suddenly feels like it is rated for nothing. The Inuit solution was a vapor barrier layer placed directly against the skin, inside the outer insulating layer. A thin impermeable membrane that stops moisture migration before it reaches the loft material. Historically, this was rendered seal intestine. Today, the equivalent costs under $2 at any hardware store, a 2 mil painter's plastic drop cloth. One sheet of painter's plastic replaces the function of a $200 vapor barrier liner that outdoor companies sell for cold expeditions. The physics are identical. The price difference is 98% in your favor. This video is just the surface of what they buried from you. I have collected everything the outdoor industry does not want you finding, all of it inside the complete Lost Skills Vault. Dead air sleep system blueprints with exact layering sequences, cold ground insulation that outperforms $60 sleeping pads, emergency thermal shelters built from nothing, fire management techniques that maintain warmth through a full night on 2 small logs, water purification and natural food preservation requiring no power, over 10 complete guides in one place, no filler, straight to what works. The link is waiting in the description. But stay right here because this vault is just beginning to open. The second material has been used for warmth since the Bronze Age. Loose, dry, natural fiber arranged around the body inside a simple outer cover. In 800 BC, peoples of the Central Asian steppes slept inside animal hide covers lined with dry grass at minus 20 degrees every winter. Mongol warriors stuffed wool felt covers with dry cattail fluff on the coldest nights of Russian campaigns. Roman legions in northern Gaul filled their cloaks with dry plant material on frozen ground. Every cold climate culture independently arrived at the same answer: loose, dry fiber traps, dead air in an adjustable layer that responds to your body heat. Add more fiber, more insulation, remove some, reduce it. Dry cattail fluff, free along any wetland in North America, has insulating capacity comparable to low-grade goose down in laboratory testing. Dry leaves at 4 inches of loft provide thermal resistance equivalent to a 20-degree sleeping bag. Wool from any thrift store provides warmth even when completely wet, a property no synthetic insulation and no downfill can match. The outdoor industry will not tell you this because thrift store wool cannot be branded, filled with proprietary technology, and sold to you for $389. Now let me give you the numbers that should make you genuinely angry. The global sleeping bag market was valued at $3.8 billion in 2024. The average quality 3-season bag from a major outdoor brand costs between $150 and $400. Its effective lifespan is 5 to 10 years before loft compression degrades performance. A properly maintained vapor barrier and loose fiber system built for $4 does not degrade. The plastic does not lose its vapor barrier properties. The fiber can be refreshed with free natural material found at any campsite on Earth. A $150 sleeping bag replaced every 7 years costs over $1,500 across a decade and a half of camping. A $4 system lasts indefinitely. That is a 99.7% price difference for objectively comparable thermal performance in real field conditions. But here is what the industry truly cannot survive, you knowing. The temperature rating printed on every sleeping bag you have ever purchased is not a safety standard, it is a marketing standard. Military cold weather research at the U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine found that real human thermal performance varies by as much as 15 degrees from published bag ratings depending on caloric intake, hydration, fatigue, and moisture in the insulation. That means your 20-degree bag may only reliably perform to 35 degrees in real conditions. The dead air and vapor barrier system does not have that problem. It has no rating to trust and no marketing promise to fail. It has only physics. Physics does not lie on a label. Here is exactly what to do this weekend. Step 1. Buy a roll of 2mm painter's plastic sheeting at any hardware store for $3 to $5. Cut a piece large enough to wrap around your torso and legs. This is your vapor layer. Step 2. Find bulk fiber. Thrift store wool blankets cost $2 to $8. In the field, collect dry cattail fluff, dry leaves, or dry grass. You need 4 inches of loft surrounding your body. Step 3. Lay your outer cover flat on the ground, any wool blanket or canvas top. Spread fiber across the lower half. Lie down on it. Wrap the plastic sheet loosely around your torso and legs directly against your skin before pulling the outer cover over you. This stops moisture from reaching the fiber and destroying your dead air layer. Step 4. Address the ground. Cold ground conducts heat 25 times faster than cold air. Place 4 inches of dry fiber below you between your body and the earth. A survivalist in Montana built this system from thrift store wool and hardware store plastic on a January night that reached 8 degrees Fahrenheit. His core temperature held stable through the full night. Total cost was $7. A synthetic sleeping bag with equivalent cold performance costs between $280 and $450. This knowledge did not disappear from the earth. It waited in Inuit oral traditions, in the field notes of Arctic explorers who documented what actually kept indigenous people alive versus what equipment manufacturers claimed. Dead air is still the greatest insulator on Earth. A painter's plastic sheet still stops vapor migration as effectively as rendered seal intestines stopped at 4,000 years ago. Dry fiber still traps still air exactly the way goose down does, for a fraction of the cost with none of the supply chain dependency. The Inuit knew. Shackleton's men discovered it when their manufactured equipment failed, and ancient principles were all that remained. A $3.8 billion industry spent 60 years making certain you would buy the $400 version instead of the $4 version that works just as well. But today, right here, you just reconnected every single dot. The vault is open. The knowledge is yours. Subscribe and share it. Every share preserves what they spent decades erasing. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is even heavier than this one.